The day my 8-year-old granddaughter pulled a faded envelope out of my old Bible, my entire family stopped pretending. I didn't know it yet, but one forgotten letter was about to destroy a lie my own children had protected for years. If stories about family secrets and impossible betrayals mean something to you, I'd be honored if you subscribe to Family Betrayal before we go any further. And one quick thing, every face, photo, background scene, and visual shown with this story is only there to help bring the memories to life. They're not meant to represent the real people involved. My name is Richard, and I was 74 when everything changed. That old Bible had belonged to my late wife, Margaret. After she passed away, I couldn't bring myself to open it. It stayed on the highest shelf in my bedroom for almost 10 years, collecting dust along with memories I wasn't strong enough to face. My granddaughter, Emma, loved old books. She climbed onto a chair, grabbed the Bible, and flipped through its yellow pages while I made lemonade in the kitchen. "Grandpa," she called, "why is there a letter inside this?" I smiled at first. Then I saw the envelope. My heart froze. I didn't remember putting anything in that Bible. The envelope had my name written in Margaret's handwriting. Before I could reach it, Emma had already pulled the letter out. It wasn't sealed anymore. The paper was old and fragile. My hand started shaking before I even read the first sentence. "My dearest Richard, if you're reading this, then someone ignored my final wish." I felt sick. Margaret wrote that she had left important documents with our attorney. She begged me never to let our children convince me those papers had disappeared. But they had. Or at least, that's what my children had told me after her funeral. I looked up toward the living room window. At that exact moment, my oldest son, Daniel, pulled into my driveway. And suddenly, I knew this letter wasn't forgotten. It had been hidden. Daniel walked inside smiling like every other Sunday. The second he saw the letter in my hand, his smile disappeared. "Dad, where did you get that?" I didn't answer. Instead, I asked the question I'd been carrying for almost a decade. "What documents did your mother leave behind?" His face turned pale. He looked toward his younger sister, Karen, who had arrived only minutes later. They exchanged the kind of look only people hiding the same secret understand. Daniel finally sighed. "Dad, Mom wasn't thinking clearly near the end." That sentence broke something inside me. Margaret had been sharp until her last breath. I knew that. "So you lied?" Nobody answered. Instead, Karen started crying. She admitted they'd gone to the attorney only days after the funeral. There had been another will, another letter, and instructions from Mom. They destroyed neither. They simply kept them from me. Why? Because Margaret wanted me to sell the family house and travel the country after she was gone. She wanted me to enjoy whatever years I had left instead of spending every dollar helping our adult children. But Daniel and Karen convinced me the paperwork had been lost forever. They told me Mom left everything exactly the way it already was. So I stayed. I paid their bills. I loaned money I never got back. I missed the dreams Margaret wanted me to live. Tell me honestly, if your own children stole years of your life instead of money, could you forgive them? That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept rereading Margaret's words. Then I noticed something written in tiny handwriting at the bottom of the last page. It mentioned one locked safety deposit box, one I had completely forgotten existed. The next morning, I drove to the bank alone. I had no idea what waited inside. The bank manager unlocked the safety deposit box. Inside was a small velvet pouch, several legal papers, family photographs, and another handwritten letter. Margaret knew exactly what she was doing. She wrote that if our children ever tried to control my future by hiding the truth, I should never argue with them. She said, "Let their own choices reveal who they became." Tucked beside the letter was a certified copy of her final will. It proved every word she had written in the Bible. Then I found something else. A notebook. Page after page listed every dollar we had quietly given Daniel and Karen over 25 years. College tuition, mortgage payments, medical bills, business failures, car loans. The total was more than $480,000. I couldn't believe it. Margaret hadn't kept those records because she wanted repayment. She kept them so I would never blame myself for saying no in the future. When I returned home, both of my children were waiting. They begged me not to involve lawyers. They said they only wanted to protect the family. I finally asked the question they couldn't answer. If you were protecting the family, why was I the only one who never knew the truth? Silence filled the room. For the first time in years, they looked ashamed. But shame couldn't return the birthdays, vacations, and peaceful mornings Margaret wanted me to enjoy. Still, one final surprise remained. It was hidden inside the very last page of Margaret's notebook, and it changed everything I thought I knew about forgiveness. Folded into the notebook was a simple note. It read, "Richard, if you're finally reading this, then you've learned who people become when fear is stronger than love. Don't spend whatever time you have left chasing revenge. Choose peace, because that's the only thing they can never steal." I cried harder than I had the day we buried her. A week later, I met with an attorney. I updated my own estate plans, not to punish my children, but to protect the future from more lies. Part of my estate would now fund college scholarships in Margaret's name. Another part would go directly into trust for Emma, the little girl whose curiosity uncovered the truth no adult dared to reveal. Daniel and Karen apologized many times. I accepted their apology. But trust doesn't return the moment someone says they're sorry. It returns only when truth becomes a habit again. Today, Emma still keeps that old Bible on a shelf in her home. The letter remains inside it as a reminder that truth has a way of surviving, even when people try to bury it for years. I've learned that the greatest inheritance isn't a house, money, or land. It's honesty. Once a family loses that, everything else becomes smaller. So now I want to ask you, what would you have done if your own children had stolen years of your life with one carefully guarded secret? Share your answer in the comments because I'd truly like to hear it. If this story touched you, please share it with someone who believes families should always be built on truth. And if you want more unforgettable stories like this, don't forget to subscribe to Family Betrayal, because sometimes the smallest forgotten letter carries the biggest truth of all.